Hi, my name is Lorna Kinnaird and I am a Scottish genealogist living in Edinburgh. I'm delighted to provide a short guide on my favourite 8 depositories in Scotland to the SOG, and a handout has been provided. I will briefly look at each archive in sequence, starting with the primary place to start any Scottish research. But first, if you're unfamiliar with where archives in Scotland are located, an excellent website is the Scottish Council on Archives. It is from there that you can explore and discover which archives might be suitable to kickstart your Scottish research. And as you can see, the Scottish Archive map shows a breakdown of each archive from a national level through to a local level. The Scotland's People Centre is the official government source of data for Scotland, and it's found at His Majesty's General Register House, 2 Princes Street in Edinburgh. The system requires you to register an account and add credits to view or download documents. And this is where you find the primary source of baptisms, marriage bans and burials of the established Church of Scotland from 1553 to 1854, and statutory records of births, marriages and deaths from the 1st of January 1855 to the present day. You can access Scottish census returns from 1841 to 1921 and the Kirk Session minutes of the Presbyterian Church. However, data protection prohibits online access to any document that is less than 100 years for births, less than 75 years for marriages, or less than 50 years for deaths. Once you register for an account with the Scotland's People Centre, look at the record guides from A to Z, and they will tell you everything you need to know about each record set, and will give you an understanding of the content, what's available and what's not, and why. This is where you will carry out a large percentage of your research with access to many major record sets. New data is always going to be added to the online platform, so it's wise to check in occasionally. This example shows a search in the OPR baptisms for the surname Scoon. If we click the column heading, Parents and Other Details, the system will sort out all the children born to those parents. If we click the entry and then use Full Search, we can see Margaret Scoon's entry together with all the other entries on that page, including another of the same surname, so the entry is likely connected. The reference of the entry is at the top, and you can use the bottom bar to adjust the image to suit. Another useful feature is that the site saves all your viewed images. Click on your account, then My Records, and then use Edit to type in details of the relevance of this entry. You can use the site to search the virtual volumes under Places. I've chosen Aberlady as an example. This shows you all the digitised Kirk Session records available for that place. And here's an example of what you might find in the Kirk Session records. This one lists all of the poor in Aberlady in the year 1899. Everything that went on daily in a parish will likely have been recorded. And if you're searching for a baptism in the old parish registers and do not find it, the entry may have been recorded in the Kirk Session, and there may have been a scandal attached to it, and you'll get the background details, and you might even get the father's name. You might be lucky to find that your ancestor had to appear before the Kirk Session, rather like Robert Skinner in the above example, who had to confess that he was guilty of fornication with a Janet Otterburn and deal with the punishment that the session dispensed. You will often see subsequent entries of the case until it's resolved and the parties have had their church privileges restored. Scotland's Places is the sister site of Scotland's People. The records on this site can be found at the National Records of Scotland, Historic Environment Scotland and the National Library of Scotland, the three national depositories. Viewing records such as tax records from 1748 to 1798 and the Ordnance Survey name books from 1844 to 1878 are all free on this website. An example of the horse tax for Aberlady Parish, the reference number E326 relates to the Exchequer records that you would find at the National Records of Scotland. National Records of Scotland historic search rooms are in the same building as the Scotland's People Centre, but upstairs. To access those records, you need to visit in person and you need to register for a reader's ticket. Once you're issued your reader's ticket, you can order out documents to consult that are held on site and use the in-house virtual volume platform to view all the digitised images. I suggest you look at the research guides before you consult the catalogues and indexes. And if you have your working research plan draft open in front of you when you're consulting these catalogues, you can easily input all the data that you need into this spreadsheet. The catalogue is full of excellent sources for researching both people and places. Visiting in person allows you free access to the in-house platform of the virtual volumes, where you can search the Sazing Register, the Register of Deeds, Wills and Testaments, valuation rolls and many other document sets that have been digitised. Most of the records in the NRS hold are described in the catalogue together with all the gifted and deposited collections, but there are some records still held in private hands, and these can be found on the National Register of Archives of Scotland website, the NRAS. If we use an example of the place Aberlady, then we find that there are 485 possible records. If we click on the date, then it sorts the documents in date order with the earliest first. The reference number is important for ordering out the document. If you look further into a record by clicking on the reference, it will provide you with a description of that record and whether it is on site or off site. If you click the Advanced On button, then it brings up a page for you to complete and choose the date that you want to consult the document. Many descriptions are usually sufficient to allow you to understand the document content and how relevant this document would be to your research. It may not state whether you can self-image the document or not. NRS provide documents that not only detail cases but provide a colourful insight to our ancestors' characters. Take Mrs. Agnes Thompson, a widow, midwife and one of my ancestors, being portrayed as a habitual drunk and foul-mouthed old woman, being accused of being intoxicated. She was suing for defamation of character and loss of earnings. One can almost picture the heated exchanges between the parties on Aberlady's High Street that day. The National Library of Scotland has a fantastic collection of maps that cover the world. They also cover Scottish Post Office directories, which you are likely going to use in your research, and thousands of deposited estate records, such as the Sutherland Papers. As an example, if we search the manuscript collection catalogue and enter Sutherland Papers into the search engine, we would receive 120 examples. If an ancestor worked on the Dunrobin estate, for example, then we would look to see if this collection had an inventory, and then search through looking for words like rents, rental agreements, tenants, factor records and correspondence. DEP 313 contains 112 subsections with 3,674 itemised documents. So you can see the benefit of having an inventory for a major collection such as the Sutherland Papers. City archives have their own catalogues which provide details of their local collections. If you can also use online Scottish Archive Network platform, that will provide you with the contact details and websites of all the city archives too. An example here shows the collection set held at Glasgow City Archives, housed in the Mitchell Library. And if we look at Edinburgh City Archives, for example, they have indexes to their SL and ED collections, and their catalogues are available to download. Here is an example of council minutes which record the actions of the City Chamberlain and the Lord Provost, which will invariably list all of those who sat on council at that time. Edinburgh City Archive also hold Dean of Guild records if you are looking at builders and drawings associated with the Superintendent of Public Works in Edinburgh, for example. The Dean of Guild were responsible for the building of the new town of Edinburgh in the 1800s, and their records are really quite exceptional. All universities will have an amazing collection of deposited records of families, estates, organisations and businesses. The University of Aberdeen have a catalogue that holds over 5,000 archived collections. The University of Edinburgh archives hold the matriculation albums from 1627 to 1980. And these matriculation records will largely contain the matriculation number, the name of the student, the faculty and place of origin. They will unlikely contain details of parents or dates of birth, but might provide enough information to provide that all essential link. One of the largest health authority archives in the UK is Greater Glasgow and Clyde Archives, which date back to the late 18th century. Their archives include minutes of the governing bodies, archive architects' drawings, hospital buildings, photographs, accounts and records of patient care. NHS Grampian archives cover the period from 1739, when the infirmary at Aberdeen was founded, and they can be found at the University of Aberdeen. Many of the craft and trade records can be found scattered across the collections at the National Records Scotland, the National Library of Scotland, local archives, libraries and museums. The Royal College of Surgeons in Edinburgh hold the records of the Society of Barbers from 1716. And Elgin Museum, Scotland's oldest independent museum, has an archive of the incorporation trades of Elgin dating back to 1658. A very good publication which was created in 1998, still in date, is D.R. Torrance's book pictured on the right hand side there. It provides good information on where to look and what you will find relating to Scottish trades. But never underestimate the resources and experiences of the wonderful volunteers of a Scottish Family History Society. The Lothians FHS, for example, cover all the Lothians with monumental inscriptions of churchyards and burial indexes. To find the complete list of Scottish FHSs, look on the SAF's website. So to find the answers you need from the archives, plan your visit well in advance. Consult all online catalogues of both national and local, noting access and limitations to the sources that you want to consult, and permissions to self-image the documents. If in doubt, contact or email the archive in question. Scotland has some of the best documents found anywhere in the world, and many will only be available to view if you visit in person. I provided the main list you will need to get started. And just a shout out to say that I'm running a 12-week Beginning Your Scottish Research course starting the 30th of January 2025 through the Society of Genealogists. So watch out for more information in the coming weeks. And I really want to say thank you very much for watching my talk. And if I can help you in any way, please don't hesitate to contact me. Happy hunting!